The sun comes out and it's a new day. I'm gonna make it on my own. The sun comes out, I'm in a new way. I gotta pack my things, I'm going home. Let's build a house, we'll have a backyard. Something beautiful, something with a view. Let's build a house just for me and you.
Doing what we want now. No one's ever gonna take us down. Feeling like we're supposed to. Now the sun's out, sun's out. Now the sun's out, sun's out. And now the sun's out, sun's out. And now the sun's out, sun's out. And now the sun's out, sun's out. brave. Don't be afraid. Yeah, all it takes is being brave. Yeah, all it takes is being brave.
Welcome. Thank you for joining. Our session will begin soon.
All right. Hello, everyone. How are you doing? Okay, good. I hope there's still some more people take something out of this talk and build something amazing afterwards. Before I start, I want to get a little bit of a feel, who am I talking to? So who of you here is a developer? All right, that's amazing. You're in the right place. Who is an Android developer? Who has done something with Firebase? All right, a lot. Backend developers. Anyone who develops with Golang? Awesome, cool. So my favorite languages are Golang and Java. So I'm gonna stick to Java in this talk to reach the biggest audience, basically. So let's get started. So if we choose the right storage, it's actually really big problem. This is really hard to do. So you have a lot of things to consider when you choose your storage system. So things like, what's the object size? What's the scale that you need? What are the latency requirements, throughput, consistencies, and like permissions, things like that. So there are a lot of things that you need to consider when choosing the right storage system. Now, when I created this talk, I was thinking, like, what am I going to talk about? Or how do I going to construct this talk? So I was wondering if I should start with something. Oh, I have to get it out. Start like 20 years ago, pretty much, right? Where you had like storage systems which are mostly local. Well, things like that. Who still remembers this, right? I actually even started with the 5 1/4 sol and diskettes, but they are pretty amazing. But I thought, like, I'm not going to bore you with like history, like 20 years ago. Even though it's amazing, it's really interesting, and everybody should look into that. But we are living in the now and almost in the future. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the things that you can do today. Okay? So how can I do that? Like, I didn't want to go through like a try talk in the sense of like talking you through the different options that you have, like with Firebase or with Google Cloud Platform. I wanted to make that a little bit more entertaining. So I thought about let's do this and create a sample app, okay? So here's my startup idea. I'm a cloud developer advocate, so for me, everything is about the cloud. So my startup idea is cloudy.pictures. So concentrate on one thing and do one thing well, all right? This is where I want to get to by the end of the talk. I want to have an app where you can upload pictures, right? Where you can crop and resize the picture, where you can store metadata, and then, of course, display the pictures. Right. So what do we have in terms of options? Now, I saw a couple of you are Firebase developers. For the ones that haven't been touched or have touched Firebase so far, I really recommend to look into that. Firebase gives you a lot of things, a lot of tools to build applications, especially mobile applications, be it like Android, iOS, or web application. Right? You have things like authentication, hosting, Firestore, which gives you a flexible data storage for metadata. You have cloud storage for Firebase. And you have even something that can execute server-side code called Cloud Functions for Firebase. Now, there might be situations where you have to get out of this, where you want to do a little bit more sophisticated tasks, things that you can't cover with Cloud Functions. There are limitations with Cloud Functions, and there are reasons to break out of this ecosystem. So that's where Google Cloud Platform comes in. With Google Cloud Platform, you have a multitude of tools at your disposal that you can use. On the one hand, you have compute from like bare VMs, where you can do pretty much everything that you want, almost, up to Cloud Functions as well. Right? So you have a multitude of compute that you can use to do your things. We also have a multitude of storage products under the Google Cloud Platform portfolio. Some of these products are actually the exact same products that you can use with Firebase. So you can think of that you have different interfaces to the same product, which makes it actually easier to deal with them for different use cases. So if you build a web app, it's easier to use the Firebase SDK. If you build a backend system, you can use like our client libraries on the Google Cloud Platform. All right. So the first thing, when we upload a picture, we need a place to store our pictures. So that's where Google Cloud Storage comes in, or Cloud Storage for Firebase. As said, they're both the same product. The product is actually a highly available, durable, simple and secure object storage. What does that mean? What is an object storage? So object storage is pretty much every kind of blob that you can think of. A blob is basically bytes, right? So it can be images, it can be videos, it can be normal files, it can pretty much be any byte stream that you can find. Now, cloud storage is optimized for user latency, for end user latency. There are a lot of things that you can do. You can define the caching strategies, things like that. You can make your object storage public so that people outside can access. You can actually make it in the sense that other people pay for the access to your cloud storage system. It is integrated with our over 100 endpoints or cloud pubs that we call. So basically, if somebody comes in from, let's say, Asia or Europe, they go to the closest pub which is connected to their internet service provider, and then they go directly into our Google network. And that means the latency to retrieve objects or even store objects are minimized. So it's a really good tool for our app. That's exactly what we want to need. All right, so we're going to start with creating a bucket. So a bucket is a unique root endpoint, so to say, that you have to create to be able to store some data. When you create a bucket, you define things like the storage class and the location where your bucket lives. So in this case, as you can see here, I have two examples. Either you use our CLI, GSUtl, you make a bucket, you define the storage class, in this case it's multi-regional, and then my storage is cloudy-pictures. You can do the same with Java if you want to. So if you want to create buckets programmatically, you can use our storage APIs and then basically directly create it from your Java program. All right, next step is uploading a file. Again, very easy. If you're familiar with CP on any kind of operating system, you just prepend it with GSUtl-cm, which allows you to actually multicast your upload. And then you upload a picture here to our cloud storage bucket. In Java, pretty much simple and straightforward as well. You select a file or you point to a file, you make a byte stream or byte array out of it, you put it in a bucket and create it with a name, as you can see here. In this example, I actually also gave it the content type that you can do as well. If you want to do it from web, for the ones that have done Firebase, this looks familiar. So basically, you use the Firebase web SDKs. You get the storage reference. You use a file reader. You get from your input field, you get the file name and the content, and you upload that to storage. Very straightforward. That we use as well for our app. And next, last but not least for storage, is how to read a file. And again, it's very straightforward. You can do a copy, like download it. You can use Java, the blob object, and read it from your bucket. Or on the web, you basically get a download URL, and then you use this download URL and put it in, for instance, your image tag or your background image CSS attribute. All right. So that's great. We uploaded all our pictures, or we uploaded one picture. Now, how can I do processing, right? If I upload a picture from my phone or from my camera, these pictures are large. They are like megabytes. And I don't want to serve megabytes of pictures always to my web page or to my users. It would strain the bandwidth a lot. So what I want to do is I want to actually create some thumbnails. Now, there's a possibility that you create thumbnails already on your clients, but I don't think that is a good idea. There are many reasons for not doing this. Now, I can create thumbnails on the backend, which I'm going to use, and I could trigger the thumbnail creation from my clients. I don't think that is a good idea either. What happens if you upload a picture and then you get disconnected? Or the thumbnail creation fails and you need to retry it? All this logic would be cluttering your front end and your client code. You want to do these things on the back end. So I want to use a different mechanism to actually triggering the processing of my image files. And that's where object notifications come in. So object notifications on Google Cloud Storage allows you to basically register a hook, which gets called if anything happens on your storage system. So there are 4 event types then you can hook your systems up to. It's either finalize, which is basically object create. It's an object delete. It is archiving of an object, and it's any kind of metadata update that you do on your objects. So you can hook into any of these events. And there are different mechanisms to hook into these events. There are three main mechanisms that you can use. On one hand, if you use Firebase and Cloud Functions, you can use the cloud storage trigger for Cloud Functions. So basically, if you submit your function, you can say these functions get triggered if anything happens on my bucket. This is actually integrated with the Cloud PubSub notification system. So Cloud PubSub notification also allows you to set a notification watch command on your bucket and say, if anything happens of these events that I declare, please send me a PubSub message. And then you can have a system that deals with the PubSub message. And the kind of the legacy object change notifications that are still around is what we introduced very early on in the Google Cloud Storage platform, storage product, is the object change notification. So if you register an object change notification, you basically get an HTTPS call to an HTTPS endpoint, and then you can deal with the message there as well. The nice thing about this is all this, what you're using here, if you set this up, is integrated in a way that it does all the retry. So if you don't acknowledge a successful processing of the message, the system just retries it automatically, up to 30 days. All right, so how do I set up a Cloud PubSub trigger? Here's an example. I'm using the gcloud PubSub gcloud SDK, or CLI. So I do gcloud PubSub topics, create notifs. I declare a notification. I create here, in this case, a notification against my cloudy pictures bucket. And I say I only want to have notifications when object finalize is happening, so when an object is created. And then I declare the topic where this notification is going to be sent to. And then if I want to have a system that receives these messages, I create a so-called subscription. Here, gcloud PubSub subscription create PubSub notif sub, which basically hooks to the topic that I just created. All right, so let me show you how that looks like really quick. So I want to show you here, you see my application. Right now, it's pretty empty. If I refresh this, nothing is happening. So throughout this talk, I actually want to fill this with pictures. So I can show you, if I upload a picture here, I just select one picture. I'm going to do upload. And it's going to upload, but pretty much nothing else is going to happen. Right? So if I'm going to refresh my page, this picture is actually going to be gone. So I need to implement all the things behind the scenes to process this picture. So the first thing that we're going to do is I show you how to create this. Let me make that a little bigger. Can you see this? Thumbs up, thumbs down, if you can see that. All right, cool. So first thing is gcloud PubSub, and then I say topic create, and let's say do notif sub. Oh, that's wrong. All right. So I create my notif topic. All right, perfect. That happened. The next thing that I'm going to do is I want to actually create my watch command. So now if you have spotted, I actually named the topic differently. So I'm going to remove this here and create this notification. So now what is going to happen is actually I'm creating a notification watch on my storage bucket. You see here, the storage is named a little different because that is the storage which I actually use for my application. Now, the next thing that I want to do is I would actually want to see if any messages are coming in. So I can do notification PubSub. Oh. Sorry, gcloud PubSub notification. Come on. Oh, sorry. All right, so it's subscription. I just created a subscription. I actually need to create a subscription. I haven't done that. So I want to create a subscription, which I call uploads. Create a subscription. So now I have a subscription that actually listens on that topic. This is a little slow, so let me turn off the Wi-Fi and hope that it works a bit better without the Wi-Fi. All right, so now I want to actually listen to my PubSub topic. So I'm going to do PubSub subscription. And then I can pull. And I'm going to pull, I'm not going to acknowledge, but I'm going to pull on uploads. All right. So as you can see right now, there's nothing going to happening. 0 items. So let me upload a picture really quick again. Going to upload that picture. And then going to go back to my system to pull uploads. As you can see here, I have a message. All right. In this message, as you can see, there's a lot of things. There's things like the ID, the self-link for it, the name, the bucket, generation ID, all these things that you can use. All right. So next thing, let's go back to the slides. So I have my bucket. So now, if I upload my pictures and processing them, I want to actually store some data around this. So even if I now process my pictures, nothing going to happen, basically. They're not going to be displayed in my web page. So I need something to actually process them and store some metadata around them. So that's where we go back and look at what is the portfolio of systems that we have available for us. And here I'm going to look at Firestore. Firestore is a NoSQL backend system, which allows you to store document-based data. And the advantage of that is actually that it's very flexible in a sense. So if you want to add some fields or things like that, you can do that throughout the lifecycle of your application. So you don't have to be very restrictive on the schema that you're going to use. You can just evolve the schema while you develop your application. Now for Firestore, again, there are client libraries which you can use from the web as well as from your backend systems. So Cloud Firestore, just to summarize again, it's very flexible. You have an expressive query language. You get real-time updates. If you use Firebase, you can basically use watch commands or basically get events for any data that has changed. You have offline support if you do a web application, and it's designed to scale again. So this is a system that can scale to massive sizes. So how do you write data to Firestore? Here's an example for Java. So pretty much everything in Firestore is async. So as you can see here, you get a document ref. You give it a name to your document, basically an ID. You have a collection document, and then you put your fields in there. To write this, you use an API future, and then you can also update fields if you want to. Now, if you read data, it's pretty much similar to that. There are not a lot of changes here. You just do on the document ref that you create, you just do a get, and that blocks till you have the data. All right, so let's see how we can integrate that to actually write some data in our application. So now we're going to switch to some code. So what I have here is my image processing service. So what I have here is I basically set up my application with Google credentials. So this uses the default credentials that you have set. Either if you run that on a GCE instance, a compute engine instance, then you have a default context, or you provide a service account, which is used to authenticate you. It's done very easily. You really need only these 6 lines to get the credential context. Now then we need a project ID. We define our storage that we want to use. So this is, again, cloud storage for Firebase. I define here my PubSub that I have defined. And I can actually use this and say, OK, I created a PubSub, which is uploads. So I'm going to use the uploads subscription that I created earlier. All right. And then this code, what you see here, is basically listening for PubSub messages. So it's, again, doing this asynchronously. Every time I get a message, I have here my message that I get. I'm going to put that into my process message function, which we're going to look into in a bit. And then if the function is actually successful, I acknowledge this message. Now, what you have with PubSub is if you can actually have multiple subscribers on the same subscription. And what happens is your message gets round-robin distributed to all the subscribers on one subscription. Now, if you want to make sure that one message is distributed to multiple places and always to multiple places, then you just create multiple subscriptions. All right, so let's look into our process message. So what we're going to do here is basically I'm going to check for uploads on my image when it gets uploaded, and I'm going to show you really quick. We have here our storage system. If I go to storage, you're going to see here I have some images. That are the 2 images that I uploaded earlier. So let me, yeah. All right, and then I basically take the path, take the user ID out of this, take the file ID out of it, do some resizing. I'm doing the resizing here with image magic, so that's the reason I wanted to run this on a GCE instance, for instance. I store the sums in my bucket, as you can see here in the create function. I have like a 600 pixel wide thumbnail and a 1,600 pixel wide thumbnail. And then I just create and move this object as well to a different folder, that it's not in my uploads folder anymore. And last but not least, I just clean up all my temporary files that I had in between. So now, as you can see, I just started that. So let's see what's going to happen. Since we uploaded some pictures earlier on this, subscription, it should actually get these. As you can see now, it actually gets these messages and does all the processing. Right? So let's have a look how that looks like. So we see here that we have our messages. We can say on my storage, you can see if anything's happening. OK, we have actually uploads and raw images now. So we have images moving. Great, amazing. And then let's see if any metadata is coming in. Metadata is not coming in. All right. So let's just upload another picture and see if our metadata is coming in. Actually, I'm not writing any metadata. So I actually need to write my metadata first. So we need to look into setting this up for writing some metadata. So the first thing is I want to have my Firestore. So Firestore init. So this creates, takes the credentials again and initializes my Firebase app and my Firestore. And then next is before I move my data to the raw folder, actually let's do it after that. I want to update my Firestore metadata. So here I'm just going to add 3 fields, a process field, a sum available field, and a large available field. All right, I'm going to save this. I'm going to restart my application. Something is missing. All right. Firebase is not there. Firestore. All right, of course. We need actually to provide this here. So Firestore. And then here, I want to provide my Firestore. All right. Let's try this again. All right, so now it is working. So let's have a look if we upload a picture. OK, we upload a picture. So this is actually just a client side that I display this picture. So if I refresh, I'm going to see nothing. That's OK. I'm going to see nothing because it's basically downloading the file, doing the image magic, and then uploading the file again. So that will take a little while. So we see a new element coming in. Let's see if we get all the stuff. All right. OK, perfect. So we have now the metadata there, which means our picture was processed and first success. OK, awesome. So we have the first picture there. Let's switch back to the slides. All right. So we have our first minimal viable product, right? So we can upload the picture, and I can display pictures. Amazing. And I can store some metadata as well on it. So now, what if our app grows, right? Like a lot of people, thousands of people are starting to upload cloudy pictures. As said before, this is a very targeted app only for cloudy pictures. So now what I want to do is I actually want to reduce some cost. In the beginning, you saw I created a bucket, which is a multi-regional bucket. So the multi-regional bucket is actually our most sophisticated storage class that we have. To reduce cost, I have actually different options and storage classes that I can use. There are 4 storage classes available under the cloud storage. The multi-regional one is the one that is distributed across 2 regions. which are at least 100 miles apart from each other, and gives you the highest availability for your needs. Now, if you do data processing and you want to actually process your data close to where it is living, then we recommend to use a regional bucket. The regional bucket is in one region, it's a little bit cheaper, and gives you a little bit less of an availability SLA. Now, when it comes to archiving data, we have a nearline and a cold line storage class. Nearline is pretty much if your images or any kind of objects are older than or not used within 30 days, you can move them to nearline. Then it's cheaper actually to use nearline than have them stored on a regional or multi-regional bucket. Now, if you use your data like less than once a year, then it's recommended to move these to cold line. You still have the same like persistency of your data objects, and you still have the same APIs, which is amazing, but the prices get down. Now, one thing which is really important to do all these things automated or in your application is something called object lifecycle. With object lifecycle, what you can do is you can define rules when objects get automatically transitioned between the storage classes. So on my bucket, I could define a rule. If an object is older than 30 days, please move it to nearline. If it is older than like 365 days or older than 90 days, please move it to cold line. But I also can do that per object. I don't have to create a bucket with a specific storage class. You can do that, but you don't have to. You can actually change the storage class per object. So how does it look like? You can use it either with GSU tool and do it there, or you can use Java, as you see there, to move your object. So I'm going to show that really quick, how we're going to do this here. So I have a second application here, which extracts some more metadata. So as you can see here, the same like setup code pretty much. But what I do is I'm reading the object, and then I'm using an SDK to get like EXIF data out of it. So now when this is done, what I want to do is actually I want to move this object away. So let's see where we can do this. So we can actually do like here, and then move the object. See how we're going to do this. Yeah. All right, there it is. All right, so basically I take my object, I just define a new storage class, build this, and then say like, okay, when my metadata is processed, I'm just going to move it to nearline. So I'm going to start this here as well. And it's going to listen on my notification as well. So now, this is a topic where notifications have been sent before. So as you can see, it starts actually processing as well. And it might throw some errors because I have deleted some object, but it basically will process in the background our objects. So let's have a look if that is actually working. So what we can have here is like we have our objects, and in time, what you can see here is metadata is showing up. Right, so this gives me all the EXIF data, which I now can use to search, for instance, or build a world map where I can put all my pictures. And if I go to storage, which I'm going to do here, I'm going to go to my storage system, I'm going to go to Cloudy Pictures, I'm going to go to my RAWs, I'm going to see here, and as you can see, my pictures actually now have the storage system nearline. So even though I created this bucket as a multi-regional bucket, I'm already moving my objects into a different storage class, which is really powerful. All right, switching back. All right, so we have that. We have reduced our costs by moving our objects and saving some costs there. The next thing that I want to do is enable a business model. I want to generate some money with this, right? So the app has gone viral. I've stored a lot of pictures, and now people have asked and want to actually like print and frame, so buy a frame and ship the pictures. So I want to enable this. Now, if I want to do this, like I'm dealing with money, and if I'm dealing with money, I need actually a transactional system. So I don't want to do this with Firestore because I think my transactional guarantees that I have with Firestore are not sufficient for what I want to do. So that's where another storage system comes in. And we have a managed storage system which is called, for Cloud SQL. So Cloud SQL is a managed RDBMS system where you can have MySQL or Postgres as a flavor. And it allows you, gives you things like automatic updates, you can do backups, you can do failovers, you can do failovers into other people's clouds, you can do failovers into on-premise systems, things like that. It is vertical scalable, so you can change your node size throughout your lifecycle of your application. And you have things like a 99.95 SLA. So how do you create a MySQL instance? Again, very straightforward, gcloud SQL instance create. You give it a name, you say the tier, which is basically the size that you want to use, and the region where this Cloud SQL instance is created. Next thing is I want to talk to my Cloud SQL, my SQL instance. So what we provide is actually a proxy which automatically authenticates you if you provided a service file. So here what you can see is you basically download your Cloud SQL proxy, and then you make it executable, and then you can run it either locally, or you can run it on your GCE instance, or if you are familiar with Kubernetes, which is a container management system, you can run it directly in your pods as a sidecar to connect to your cloud instance. That's pretty much straightforward. Who here has done something with MySQL or any SQL database? All right, amazing. So this looks very familiar. Relational schema, I'm creating a database and some tables. In this case, I'm creating a user table, the Cloud Aficionado. I'm creating a balance table, which is basically my account balance. And I'm creating a transaction table, which shows me the history of the transactions that have been done. And then I can do things like a distributed, not a distributed, but a transaction which goes across multiple tables. So here you can see I have a transaction that actually takes some money from the balance table, puts it somewhere else in the balance table, and also writes in my transaction table that this has been happened. So it's pretty much straightforward. Now the next step is my app goes viral, right? So now what we want to do is we want to need like a scalability check. So when I build my Cloudy Pictures 3.0, I want it to be scalable for a large amount of people. So let's check. Cloud storage is scalable. Cloud Firestore or Firestore on a Firebase is also scalable. It is a multi-tenant service. You don't have to pre-provision any resources. You basically just use it with your application, and the more you use, it will scale with your needs. Amazing. Now, Cloud SQL, unfortunately, is one solution that doesn't scale with your needs. You can scale it up to a certain point, basically the biggest VM that your cloud provider, or in our case, Google Cloud Platform provides you. But if you run out of the size of the biggest VM, you're kind of stuck. There are many things that you can do. You can, of course, do sharding and build like a distributed RDBMS. But it's very challenging and costs a lot of time investment, and it's very risky. So that's now where I want to plug in Cloud Spanner. Cloud Spanner is our horizontally scalable and distributed relational database system. So you get strong consistency with it, and it scales with your needs. You can scale to thousands of nodes, and it scales horizontally, your schema permitting. If you want to learn a little bit more about Cloud Spanner, there's a shameless plug at the bottom. So if you search for TIL about Cloud Spanner, you will find a video series where I go through some of the nitty-gritties of and amazing things that we do with Cloud Spanner. So let's recap. What are the portfolio under the Google Cloud Storage or Google Cloud Platform that we have in terms of data and storage products? So we have covered Cloud SQL. We have mentioned Cloud Spanner. We have mentioned Cloud Data Store, Firestore. There are a couple others here on the slide. So if you use App Engine, you can use, for instance, App Engine Memcache. If you have a lot of data which you want to search really fast, process really fast, so you want to have like a very high read and write throughput for non-relational data, then we recommend to use Cloud Bigtable. Cloud Bigtable has an H-based interface, so you can connect it to your like Spark or things like that. Then we also have a data warehouse system, a managed data warehouse system, which is BigQuery, where you can go and load relational data in and crunch terabytes of data with BigQuery. All right. So with this, I thank you very much for your attention. If you have any questions, please feel free to walk up to the microphones. I'm happy to answer some of your questions. And please also, if you want to, follow me on Twitter under @HostyRosty, and I'm happy to answer any kinds of questions through Twitter as well. So thank you very much for your attention. I hope you enjoyed the talk, and have a good Google I/O. All right, any questions? No? All right, thank you very much.
Hello and welcome to I/O Live. I'm Florina Montanescu, your host, and I'm here with Harris, product manager on Android Auto. Hi Harris.
Hi Florina.
So tell me, what's new for developers for Android Auto?
So this is a very exciting year. We have all the new sets of the changes in the APIs for media and messaging developers, which is the biggest change that we made in a long while. For the media, what the developers can do is they're going to be able to do content browse forward, which is pretty exciting, and they're going to have a different set of layouts that they can use to actually present their content better to the user. For the messaging, we have new messaging styles, which is going to enable them to do, for example, group chat and a couple of different things. And for all the thousands of developers that we have for Android Auto, that's pretty exciting.
Am I able to already download the apps directly in the car?
Yeah, so actually what we have right now is we're also showcasing the preview of the Play Store Google Assistant in the vehicles. So we've announced today that we're going to be shipping some of these Google services with Volvo, so that's pretty exciting.
That's cool. Anything else that you want to tell us?
No, it's like I would say, it's like keep developing for Android Auto. If you're media messaging apps, we're excited to work with you.
Perfect, then check out the documentation that we have online and start developing Android apps. Thank you.
Thanks.
This is Florina for I/O Live.
Hello and welcome back to I/O Live. I'm Timothy Jordan and I'm standing here with Jorge. Jorge has been applying machine learning to diabetic retinopathy detection. Hi Jorge, thanks for joining us.
Hi, nice to be here.
Okay, let's start with what is diabetic retinopathy?
So diabetic retinopathy is the main cause of blindness among working age adults in the world. And the sad thing is that it's 90% preventable if patients would get regular eye exams and timely treatment. The problem is that people don't get regular eye exams, and so we've been going out and getting images of the retina in order to get a diagnosis to see who is at risk for vision impairment.
And how do you apply machine learning to the problem?
So right now, an ophthalmologist or an eye doctor, optometrist has to look at the image and determine what the level of retinal disease is before a patient can be referred, if they need referral for treatment. So with AI, you can get an immediate grading of what's going on in the retina. So you don't have to wait sometimes an hour, 2 hours, or 2 or 3 days, or even weeks to get a response. You can act immediately for people that need care.
And I imagine this is a scalable thing as well for areas that don't have access to the same medical help.
Right. So vision impairment is expected to increase by 3 times by the year 2050.
Wow.
And so there's just not enough manpower. There's not enough eye doctors in the world to be able to take care of everyone. So this is really the only chance to be able to get the people who need care into treatment, to be able to identify them and make sure that they're able to get treated.
I see. What's next after this? What else do you think that you can apply machine learning to for people?
Yeah, so that's really exciting. It looks like AI can see a lot of things in the retina that humans can't. So we're looking to apply it to cardiovascular disease, neurological disease, and a host of other problems that we're hoping, that the algorithm can find out with just a simple retinal image.
Awesome. Jorge, thanks for sharing your story, and thank you for the work that you're doing.
Thank you.
I'm Timothy Jordan, and this is I/O Live.
Hearing my parents playing guitar, that's probably my first memory. When I started learning about how the sound waves are just vibrations in the air, my eyes opened to like a new world. And that's, I think, when it clicked that I knew I wanted to do engineering.
Daniel had a musical background. That's an important part of working on audio, is you have to have an understanding of the way sound works.
The scientists at Embari wanted to figure out a way to, in any given day, count how many blue whales there were.
So the process involves recording audio from the ocean, but it's too much information for a human to try to look at and listen to.
We were able to turn those sounds to spectrograms, which are just images of what sound looks like, and fed those images into TensorFlow, this machine learning tool.
It allows us to take a mammoth pile of data and distill it into something meaningful.
It can answer a lot of questions about the way we are affecting the marine environment and how we can help conserve it. When I was a kid, I didn't think I was going to be a scientist or an engineer, but knowing that I'll never stop learning makes me feel pretty lucky.
Hello and welcome to I.O. Live. I'm Florina Montanescu, your host, and I'm here with Harris, product manager on Android Auto. Hi Harris.
Hi, Florina.
So tell me, what's new for developers for Android Auto?
So this is a very exciting year. We have all the new sets of the changes in the APIs for media and messaging developers, which is the biggest change that we made in a long while. For the media, what the developers can do is they're going to be able to do content browse forward, which is pretty exciting, and they're going to have a different sets of layouts that they can use to actually present their content better to the user. For the messaging, we have new messaging styles, which is going to enable them to do, for example, group chat and a couple of different things. And for all the thousands of developers that we have for Android Auto, that's pretty exciting.
Am I able to already download the apps directly in the car?
Yeah, so actually what we have right now is we're also showcasing the preview of the Play Store Google Assistant in the vehicles. So we've announced today that we're going to be shipping some of these Google services with Volvo, so that's pretty exciting.
That's cool. Anything else that you want to tell us?
No, it's like I would say is like keep developing for Android Auto. If you're media messaging apps, we're excited to work with you.
Perfect. Then check out the documentation that we have online and start developing Android apps. Thank you.
Thanks.
This is Florina for I.O. Live.
Hello and welcome back to I.O. Live. I'm Timothy Jordan and I'm standing here with Jorge. Jorge has been applying machine learning to diabetic retinopathy detection. Hi Jorge, thanks for joining us.
Hi, nice to be here.
Okay, let's start with what is diabetic retinopathy?
So diabetic retinopathy is the main cause of blindness among working age adults in the world. And the sad thing is that it's 90% preventable if patients would get regular eye exams and timely treatment. The problem is that people don't get regular eye exams, and so we've been going out and getting images of the retina in order to get a diagnosis to see who is at risk for vision impairment.
And how do you apply machine learning to the problem?
So right now, an ophthalmologist or an eye doctor, optometrist, has to look at the image and determine what the level of retinal disease is before a patient can be referred, if they need referral for treatment. So with AI, you can get an immediate grading of what's going on in the retina. So you don't have to wait sometimes an hour, 2 hours, or 2 3 days, or even weeks to get a response. You can act immediately for people that need care.
And I imagine this is a scalable thing as well for areas that don't have access to the same medical help.
Right. So vision impairment is expected to increase by 3 times by the year 2050. Wow. So there's just not enough manpower. There's not enough eye doctors in the world to be able to take care of everyone. So this is really the only chance to be able to get the people who need care into treatment, to be able to identify them and make sure that they're able to get treated.
I see. What's next after this? What else do you think that you can apply machine learning to for people?
Yeah, so that's really exciting. It looks like AI can see a lot of things in the retina that humans can't. So we're looking to apply it to cardiovascular disease, neurological disease, and a host of other problems that we're hoping, that the algorithm can find out with just a simple retinal image.
Awesome. Jorge, thanks for sharing your story, and thank you for the work that you're doing.
Thank you.
I'm Timothy Jordan, and this is I.O. Live.
Hearing my parents playing guitar, that's probably my first memory. When I started learning about how sound waves are just vibrations in the air, my eyes opened to like a new world. And that's, I think, when it clicked that I knew I wanted to do engineering.
Daniel had a musical background. That's an important part of working on audio, is you have to have an understanding of the way sound works.
The scientists at Embari wanted to figure out a way to, in any given day, count how many blue whales there were.
So the process involves recording audio from the ocean, but it's too much information for a human to try to look at and listen to.
We were able to turn those sounds to spectrograms, which are just images of what sound looks like, and fed those images into TensorFlow, this machine learning tool.
It allows us to take a mammoth pile of data and distill it into something meaningful.
We can answer a lot of questions about the way we are affecting the marine environment and how we can help conserve it. When I was a kid, I didn't think I was going to be a scientist or an engineer, but knowing that I'll never stop learning makes me feel pretty lucky.
build you up when you think you're alone, and no one picks up the phone. Forgot skin and bones. Oh, yeah, I take you home, fill your body with chrome, build a castle to hold. 'Cause you build me up, oh, 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 and you never let go. Oh, 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 yeah, you build me up, oh, 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 and you never let
House. Hey, everyone. Wow. Didn't do anything, already got applause. It's a pretty good start. I see a lot of familiar faces, but the stage is getting bigger every year. So, hey, my name is Sascha Brüter, on the product team for Android TV.
I'm Benjamin Baxter, DevRel for Android TV.
And thanks for joining the Android TV session at Google I/O. The session is called What's New, but we're also talking a little bit what has happened in the last year. So thanks for joining. And yeah, let's get going. So last time most of us talked was last year at Google I/O. And the Android TV ecosystem since then has grown significantly. And we are obviously really happy about that. So we have now more than 100 partners working with us on Android TV devices. And as you can see, we are doubling that so far every year. And as you can see, the growth comes from a number of devices and device categories. We have maybe heard at CES earlier this year a bunch of new partners in very different smart TV price categories launching Android TV devices. So we are in the very lucky position that we can't even list all partners on one slide anymore. So if you're here, if you're working with us on Android TV devices and your logo is not here, sorry, we're running out of space. But also in the set-top box space, and specifically when it comes to pay TV operators, we see significant growth. And we are very happy about that. So we already have, I think, around 30 partners worldwide, so pay TV operators, cable, satellite, IPTV, shipping boxes with Android TV, and we have more than 50 additional ones coming. So we are really happy, and we see good growth there. But it's not only about hardware. It's also about software. And that's why I'm really happy that the TV app ecosystem is growing significantly as well. And I think this is the 5th time I said significantly, so I will stop doing that. But all of you are contributing to apps. Having developers here at I/O over the last few years actually pick up Android TV and build cool media experiences, games, or completely new stuff we didn't think about is really awesome. When we started the TV Play Store, I think in 2014, we had 25 apps or so. Now we are approaching 4,000. And a thing, because here there are a lot of app developers here, we wanted to mention, because it's a little bit under the radar, we have also launched DCB on Android TV. A lot of you, if you're developing for mobile, you know direct carrier billing already on mobile. So if someone buys an app, if someone does an in-app purchase, or buys a cool new car in a game, you can charge it to your mobile bill in a lot of cases. If you don't have a credit card or you don't want to use a credit card. And the same concept has launched also since last Google I/O on Android TV. And we're working with more and more partners, pay TV operator partners, that you can do charges from the Play Store or the Play ecosystem in general to your cable or satellite or TV subscription bill. But then also one of the things we have started putting more emphasis on is the Google Assistant. You heard us briefly talking last year at Google I/O about this. And since then, the ecosystem and the services that the Google Assistant brings to Android TV have, not only to Android TV, but to devices in general, has grown. So we see a lot of use of the Assistant on TV. We think it's a great additional tool to make use and consumption of media services and apps a lot easier on TV by just interacting with voice, right? Discovering content by simply talking to your TV, having a very natural interface, not having to remember what was that search phrase again, just natural, and it's easy and it works. But it's not only about finding content. It's also about looking up answers to questions you might be interested in. It might be who that actor is, or it's also control of other devices in your house. The assistant on Android TV gives you all of that. And so because we think it is so important, we are this year putting a lot of priority on getting the assistant into more countries. We want to make sure we do it right, so we don't want to rush anything. But since we have launched in the US in late 2017, we are bringing this year, as you can see, a lot more countries into the assistant ecosystem on Android TV. But even if you are in a country or a language that is not yet assistant-enabled and you have to wait a little bit, we refreshed our voice search experience even in those countries. So I mentioned earlier that we're really happy about all the apps and more apps in the Play Store. And we, last year here at Google I/O, gave you a little bit of a sneak peek of the new Android TV home experience and the system UI, and how apps can integrate with that. Back then, it was a sneak peek. It was a preview. It has launched with Android Oreo, and we are now have a lot of partners starting to roll this out to Android TV devices. So we thought it's a good opportunity to go into more detail how your apps can actually take advantage of this content-first experience that we are trying to achieve with Android TV. And Ben is going to talk a little bit about what it actually means to have a content-first app.
Hey, thanks, Sasha. So we really wanted to redefine this experience. Wanted to be very content-first, content-driven. If you're familiar with the previous screen, we have one row for recommendations, a double row for apps, double row for games. We've changed that, as you can clearly see. So apps are still important. We have one row for apps. It's just your favorite apps. Your users can customize and add your app to this row. It's up to the user's discretion. That recommendation row from Android N and below, we've broken it up into several different responsibilities. So we have a Play Next row, where you can add content, and we'll talk more about this later, but you can add content to be picked back and engage with the user later. The next thing we did was we broke out, and each app can have their own channel. They can have their own surface on the home screen. We're trying to really push this content-first design, and every app can contribute to it. As Sasha mentioned earlier with the assistant is also on the home screen. It's not specific to Android O or Android P. It actually is supported from Android M and above. So this is here to enhance search and keep pushing that content-first design. OK, I keep saying content first. It's like my favorite phrase all of a sudden. But let's look at some really good examples before we dive into the technical details about what builds a content-first design. So here we have Google Play Movies. And this is from the home screen, and you can see everything about their details. It's as if the movie detail screen is right there on the home screen to help build an engaging experience. This is great for users. They don't have to go into the app and hop back out. They can make decisions right there from the home screen. If we take it a step further, we have video previews. So if you have a movie, a trailer makes a great video preview. If you're an audio app, 10-second clip is a great audio preview. We found that having previews is very engaging for users and drives engagement into your app. I said earlier about the Play Next row. This is a great place for you to add content to bring users back in. If you're watching a really long movie, you add a little bit extra metadata. We'll make a beautiful progress indicator to add more context, and the users are able to hop back into the app. And I said channels. You're not just limited to one little row on the home screen. You can have as many channels as you want. If we look here, we have channels like featured, top free. These are great channels that are going to be fresh. These have indications of being updated daily, even hourly. OK, so now that we have a nice context about what's on the home screen, let's dive into how you guys can build this experience. So what is a channel? A channel is just a logo, and a name. That's all it is. It's a container for programs. This is going to be where you theme your content and customize everything deeper in the programs. To build a channel, we have a support library. It just uses the builder pattern, super easy, super convenient for you. Everything on the home screen should be clickable. So if you click on a logo, it should open back into your app. So just set the app link URI, and this will let you open up your app from the home screen. The next thing that's important is the internal provider ID. This is an ID for your app to tell the home screen, hey, keep track of this. I know what this ID is, and when I go to query my channel later, I can synchronize my channel with what the home screen knows about my app. And that's it. It uses a content provider, and we have convenient methods. For those of you that know the joys of content providers, you know that there can be boilerplate code. We've abstracted all that into the support library, and we make it really easy for you to build a content provider API. Those also familiar with content providers know that URIs are kind of tedious and cumbersome to manage. The support library manages all of that for you. It's just a simple insert statement, and you get back a channel ID. Like I said earlier with the internal provider ID, you can use the channel ID and the internal provider ID to make sure when you synchronize and update your channels later, you'll have all the keys you need. Okay, channels, like I said, they're just a shell of a row. The programs are what really matter. So let's look at an example of a program. In this program, we have a bunch of stuff happening. We have a thumbnail image. We have a title, a description, and anything else you know about this program can be added to the home screen. The more metadata you add, the richer the experience, the better the user engagement. So anything that's in your details page, it's perfectly natural to put on the home screen. Again, builder pattern. This time, you want to set the channel ID on your program so the home screen knows where to put it on the home screen. And if your program has more than one channel it can be in, make sure to add a unique identifier. The home screen will look at this identifier and say, hey, we already know about this program in this channel, and it's also in this channel. We can have deduping logic so that the user doesn't see duplicates and adds a cleaner, smoother experience. You also want to set the type. In this example, we set the type to movie, but the type will drive the metadata that's shown on the home screen. And I showed you with Red Bull earlier, video previews. It's as simple as just adding a URI. So you just say, hey, my video preview is at https://www.myvideo.com, and the home screen will play the video for you. It uses Exoplayer under the covers, so all of the supported video formats from Exoplayer are supported for you out of the box. If you have DRM or you have a bit more complex use case, we do support a solution where you can draw your video on a surface. Come see us in office hours tomorrow, and we can go in more depth about that. This looks very similar to channels. You convert them to content values, and then from your content values, you'll need a URI. The URI is dynamic, since you're trying to insert a program into a specific channel. So use the support library. After you insert, you'll get back a program ID. Now your program's in a channel, and you have a program ID, and you have a channel ID. You have all the tools you need for synchronizing, updating, and deleting later when you go to update your content. Okay, I told you how to make the channel. Just use the builder pattern, add it to the content provider. But when do you make it? When is very important. We put a lot of time trying to figure out how to get you started. And so we ended up with a new intent. So there's initialized programs that will get triggered. And this can happen before your app starts, which isn't a bad idea. Your app just gets downloaded onto a TV or it gets updated, and all of a sudden you have content on the home screen. Great entryway for users to come into your app. So just listen for this initialized programs and just set up your channels and start your process. Okay, the last thing we talked about was the Google Assistant. I think the Google Assistant is a pretty fantastic experience. It pushes that content-first approach even further. Things you can do to integrate with the Google Assistant is to implement search, support deep links, and handle playback controls. So let's look further. When you perform a search with the Google Assistant keeps this content-first design. Search for my favorite movie, Big Buck Bunny. Hope it's your favorite too. And you'll see a bunch of information. The thumbnail, the description, the title. And if your app matches, if it matches on the title, duration, year at the minimum, with the metadata returned, it will show up in the list of apps that's available on. How do you match this? What happens under the covers? We use more content providers. This time, your app is providing data to the Google Assistant. The Google Assistant will just pass a URI for you to perform your search on. In this content provider, you can do whatever you want. Local database calls, network calls, whatever you need to do to perform your search, you can do it. This URI contains the raw search string from the Google Assistant, but it will be sanitized. So if you say something like, play Big Buck Bunny, it's going to send you Big Buck Bunny and realize that play is a command. So just be cognizant that the URI you get is going to be the key for what you should search for. OK, controlling playback. If you guys are familiar with Media Session, you don't have to do anything. Your app already supports it. But let's just take a closer look. If you want to support the Google Assistant and do different commands while watching shows, for example, hey, Google, pause the movie. In your app, you just implement Media Session, supply a callback with this function on pause or on play. And the Google Assistant will trigger that through Media Session. On pause, on play, yeah, you can just hit the pause play button on the remote. Maybe not the most useful feature, but it's there, and it's actually a really cool experience. My favorite one is on Seek 2. You say, hey, Google, fast forward 5 minutes, and the Google Assistant actually does the math and says, hey, your media session has a state. I know the current position in that state. You said fast forward 5 minutes. That's 300 seconds. So I'm going to send the new position to your app. If you're familiar with media session, you know that there's on rewind and on fast forward. You should still implement those methods, but the Google Assistant ignores those since it already does the math to figure out where to send the user to. This next one is more useful for audio apps, more so than video apps. But if you say, hey, Google, play the next song, or OK, Google, go back and play the previous song, all you have to do is just implement on skip to next and on skip to previous. So to recap, what are some of the best practices on the home screen? You should listen for initialized programs. This is the gateway for creating your programs and building that experience on the home screen. When it comes to metadata, you cannot have enough. The more metadata you add, the richer the experience, the better engagement from users. Keeping on that theme of engagement, add previews. It's going to really drive engagement and build a nice experience for users. Keeping content fresh. If you have stale content, you might lose trust with users. If you have a channel on the home screen and you haven't updated it in a year, once the user watches all of those programs, they don't have too much of a reason to go back in. So you want to keep that content fresh. And that depends on your app. If you're an app like YouTube or Haystack and you have user-curated content, maybe update every couple hours. If you're an app like Google Play Movies, where the content's already controlled, maybe update once a day or twice a week or so. The goal is to keep the users fresh, keep the content fresh so users have something to engage with every day. And when it comes to the Assistant, the media session is your friend. Anything you want to do with Google Assistant, media session is the key. The good news is all of this stuff you can do today. It's live on Android O, and I'm going to turn it back over to Sasha to talk about things you guys can do in the future. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ben. It's interesting to see also the different reactions in the audience, like some people taking notes and taking photos and discussing the code slides, and other people like, dude, just launch some devices. So we'll talk a little bit more about what's new. You heard this morning already from Dave Burke and some others, what's the new stuff in Android P? And of course, Android TV will also get some new additions in Android P. So I will only highlight a few areas we're investing in. One is definitely performance. We have done a lot of work in Android P to actually make Android TV perform better, faster, even on entry-level hardware. So even on some of the very affordable smart TVs you might have seen, or set-top boxes, we want to make sure everything is zippy, it's fast, and we have invested a lot in that in Android P. And as a developer, some things to take a look at is think about your app and your app behavior. Is there maybe something like some animation, some feature you might want to disable or tweak on low memory devices? We see that's one of the most common problems for some apps on entry-level hardware. So take a look at the is-low RAM device and tune your app behavior to that. Play around a little bit with it. Maybe it's some tweaks to animations, or maybe on certain devices disable animations, or take a look at certain features. Also use the memory profiler to really check your app, profile it, see where it might run into some bottlenecks, because we see that still being some of the most common behaviors that an app suddenly has a drop in FPS. And also then use Android Vitals to monitor the performance of your application. But again, you should see Android P on Android TV devices perform much faster, much better, and we will see more devices because of the reduced hardware envelope. But we also obviously wanted to update some things for users and make it even easier to get to a fully set up Android TV experience. I mean, let's be honest, not everyone enjoys necessarily setting up a new device. And we wanted to make it the whole experience of from unboxing the device to have everything readily set up be a lot easier, faster, and you don't have to deal a lot with it. So in Android P, the whole setup process is a lot more streamlined. I think we reduced the overall time it takes you to go through there by almost a third. And we also have some additional cues in there where the phone integration is better. If you have an Android phone, you will get a setup notifications, so you can transfer account details, for example, your Google account. You can easily transfer that to the TV. Also, we have improved the browser sign-in for non-Android devices, so iOS devices or maybe your laptop. We improved that a lot. It's a lot faster, it's a lot easier, and so we should get you through setup a lot easier. But that's only setting up the device with your account and making sure all the settings work. What you also want on a smart TV or an OTT box, you also want all your apps, right? You want all the content. So as part of the setup process, we also have the next generation of Play Auto installs. And we already recommend you apps that you have installed on other Android TV devices, on past Android TV devices, or maybe on your phone if a corresponding TV app exists. So we automatically suggest that to you as part of the setup flow, and you can select there, yes, I want all these apps, or maybe say, oh, I want only a few of them. Just a few clicks, checkboxes, you say go, and everything is being downloaded and installed automatically. No more manual search in the Play Store after you have set up a new device. But downloading and installing an app is only one piece that we wanted to optimize. What's also not a great experience is going into an app and then discovering that you have to sign in with a username and password and having to awkwardly enter that with your remote control. And so that's why we're introducing also autofill with Google on Android TV. So if you have ever entered your credentials on one of these apps on another Android device, we're automatically suggesting those to you. You just say yes, and all the login credentials are being added. You're logging in automatically without entering any usernames or passwords. So that's setup, but also one of the areas where we saw a lot of users spend a lot of time and searching for stuff and obviously not really enjoying it is settings, right? Sometimes you need to tweak stuff, or you have skipped a certain setup step when setting up your new device, or you want to change your audio settings or add a different account or something like this. And we have revamped settings on Android TV to be a lot more streamlined, a lot less cluttered, and we will automatically suggest to you settings we think you are looking for. And for example, when you skipped account login, we, as you see in the animation here, will already highlight that. Or when we saw you tweak around with some apps and something wasn't right, and you go into settings, we will maybe highlight the app setting for you. We want to make it as easy to quickly get in, get the stuff tweaked you need, and get out again. So that was a lot about Android P. You can download the Android P preview SDK and can play around with the also with the TV emulator and try it out. There are some other neat things in there. For example, external camera support, so you could start writing camera apps for TV if you want to. So you can start playing around with it. We're also going to release a lot more documentation around the performance aspects of TV apps in the near future. But we wanted to talk about two more things. I mean, we talked a lot about software so far, but we also thought about what are cool hardware experience, what are cool devices that could expand the experience in the living room. And one of the questions we asked ourselves is, how would a really cool living room experience with a device being the center, the hub of the living room, with assistant integrated, very easy to use, controlling all my other devices, and bring me the best Android TV experience onto my TV screen, how would something like that look like? And the outcome of that, the answer to that was something like this.
Hey Google, turn on the TV.
Hey Google, play the Clemson football game on ESPN.
Okay, what's it called again? Curiosity? Opportunity? Hey Google, what's the new Star Trek show?
Here is some information about Star Trek Discovery.
Discovery.
Hey Google, show me potato battery videos on YouTube Kids.
All right, here's potato battery videos on YouTube Kids.
Hey Google, how long is college football overtime?
According to Wikipedia, it is commonly 10 minutes long.
This is good. This is really good. Hey Google, buy more kettle corn.
Here's what I found on Google Express.
I meant the show. I know.
Hold up. Hey Google, dim the lights, turn off the TV, and play some music on Pandora.
So as you might have seen already starting yesterday in some media outlets, we announced together with our partner JBL, the JBL Link Bar, powered by Android TV. It's an awesome soundbar. It has Google Assistant integrated. And because we put far-field microphones into the device, you don't even need to pick up the remote control. You just sit on the sofa, start talking to the device, and can control the whole experience. It has really awesome sound. There will be an optional subwoofer that you can order with it as well. And what I think a really cool feature is are the 3 HDMI ins. And you might think, well, why is that so cool? You really can control your whole home entertainment experience with this. Because a lot of you might have actually, well, you might have a PlayStation or an Xbox, right? Or you might still have that Blu-ray player, or whatever other, or maybe that cable set-top box you still really like. So you can connect all these devices to the JBL Link Bar, and then use the assistant to control, for example, you want to switch to the PlayStation, and it just magically happens. And also, if, let's say, you're playing a game on the PlayStation, and then you have a question for the assistant, you just ask the assistant, and the assistant can show you the answer cards over your current HDMI input. So it's not just a pass-through HDMI. These are active inputs, and it really shows you the power of the assistant and Android TV as a living room platform. And the other cool thing here is that it works, that we are working to get this into a speaker-only mode as well. Because sometimes you don't need the TV screen, right? You don't, to listen to audio, to listen to music, to maybe just ask something, really turning this down into a very low-key smart speaker is also cool. So this device can do all of those things. And maybe sometimes you just want to send some music via Bluetooth or cast audio to the device. Works as well. It's your one-stop shop for the living room. Can control everything. It's super easy. It will also come with a remote control. But if you prefer to just use it with voice, well, it is really easy. You should check it out. We have it in our Android TV sandbox here in Sandbox C. And ask some of the folks from the team to give you a demo. It's really cool. It sounds good. And it will launch in fall 2018. So I said 2 more things, right? So one other thing, we talked a lot about Android P earlier. And like as developer, you want to follow all the things Ben just told you. And you might ask, yeah, you told me I can download the Android P SDK, Preview SDK, and work with the emulator, but I really would like to have actual hardware for this. So I don't know who of you was at Google I/O 2014 at Moscone Center. Well, lots of hands. OK, some of you were already in Moscone in 2014. And they might remember we launched a device back then to introduce Android TV. It was called the ADT1. So we thought, well, you can applaud if you want, but we thought it's time for another developer device. So we are introducing ADT2. So you might want to write down that sign-up form link, because you're the first people to actually see this and be able to sign up for this. All the smartphones. It's actually a pretty good test for Google Lens. The actual.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway.
If they go to the sandbox later and check out the soundbar, and you badge in, you'll also get an email with this link as well. Yep,
good point. So this is a neat little HDMI dongle. It will come with a BTLE-enabled, a voice-enabled remote control. So you can try out all the assistant integration tips that Ben just talked about. It will run an Android P developer preview release. We will send updates to the device. By the way, we are also sending updates to the soundbar. Google or the Android TV team will send the system updates and new Android versions right through the device. And so you can use this device to try out all the cool things. It's a limited edition device, so you know about it first. Sign up. We will actually start to send this out later this summer. And it's a neat little device. We are actually really excited about it. And sign up for it and build cool apps. That's kind of it already. I said 2 more things. It was 2 more things. We have, if you're working on apps, we have some more interesting events that you might be interested in. Ben, I don't know if you want to mention.
Come visit us in office hours. We have back-to-back app reviews in office hours. We're going to be down the road a little bit where the office hours tent is. If you have questions, come bring them. If you're bored and you still want to do TV stuff, we have 2 new code labs in the code lab section. One focuses on just the play next row, and the other one focuses on an overview of the entire home screen. We look forward to seeing you and bring your questions there.
Yep. And talking about questions, well, obviously we want feedback from you, but also if you have questions, you see those microphones? We're not using them. Because of timing, we will get shuffled out here very soon. But Ben and I will be over right after this talk in the Android TV sandbox. Come over, talk to us, ask us questions, and I will most likely point to Ben to answer those questions. Thank you very much. Build cool TV apps, and I hope we'll see you next year.
Thank you.
Animator, and others. For now, Android KTX is in preview, and the API is likely to change before reaching the stable version. But here's how to integrate it in your projects to check it out. Some examples of usage and how you can contribute. In the build.gradle file of our app, add the Google repository, if it's not there already, and then add the Android KTX library to your dependencies. Let's start with a simple example. Let's say that we want to create a URI from a string. Normally, you would call URI.parse on the string, but with Android KTX, we can just call toURI on the string. When we want to save a value in share preferences, our code will look like this. We edit the preferences, put the value, and then call apply. With the extension, we just need to call edit and pass a lambda block with the action. Under the hood, it actually does the same thing as the previous code. Working with classes from the graphics package, we've added extension functions for some of the most important classes there: canvas, bitmap, path, color, and others. So let's say that we want to draw the difference between two paths offset downward by 100 pixels. First, we get the difference of the paths. Then we translate the canvas, and afterwards we draw the new path. All of this code can now be simplified like this. Okay, let's take another example, this time with a view, and say that we want to execute an action before the view is drawn. The default implementation requires us to add an onPredraw listener, make sure it's removed before the action is triggered, and then trigger the action. With Android KTX, we can just call doOnPredraw on our view and trigger the action. These are just a few of the extensions available so far. Check out the docs to find out what else we have there. If you want to suggest more ideas for extension functions and you'd like to contribute, check out the Android KTX GitHub project. We're still in preview, the API is not stable yet, so your feedback is valuable and can shape the library. This is just the beginning of Android KTX. We're working on extensions for support library and architecture components. Kotlin on Android is here to stay, and we have big plans for it. Follow us on GitHub, YouTube, and Twitter for more news.
Hello and welcome back to I.O. Live. I'm Timothy Jordan, and I'm standing here with Niall and with Shaza, and they built an app using TensorFlow. I'm going to talk about it a little. Niall, could you tell me what the app is and how you came up with the idea?
Sure. So the app is actually a plant classification app. You basically take your camera and hold it over a plant leaf. The app then tells you what type of plant it is. It tells you if it's healthy or if it has a disease and what the disease is. And we actually came up with it one day in lunch. So Shaza had been talking about wanting to create an app, and we were brainstorming some ideas, and I thought about my mom, who has had a huge passion for gardening. About a year ago, we ended up moving, and so she had to transport her garden from a big backyard to a tiny little patio in an apartment. Thus, all of her plants were dying. So we ended up making the app and helping her garden flourish.
Awesome. Now, Shaza, what was it like getting started with machine learning?
Hi, Timothy. I got started with machine learning through a TensorFlow code lab called TensorFlow for Poets, and I learned all about how machine learning works and how to use convolutional neural networks on your own data set using the TensorFlow API.
Did you find that challenging?
It was very challenging. It took me a long time to learn because it was my very first programming experience, but it ended up being a really amazing project.
Awesome. Now, what's next? Do you have any ideas for new apps?
Yeah, so I definitely want to do something that has to do with women in third world countries. I have a really close friend who's actually a national leader in the organization Girl Up, and so their topic is just dealing with women in third world countries. So we're definitely working together right now on something to benefit that.
Awesome. Okay, one last question. Do you have any advice for somebody out there who's looking to get started in machine learning or even just computer science?
To someone who's looking to get started in computer science, I would tell them that it's a lot easier than you think, and there are a ton of resources out there if you want to learn about machine learning or artificial intelligence.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you for joining us. This is I.O. Live.
Hi and welcome to I.O. Live. I'm Florina Montanescu, your host, and I'm here today with Sasha Preuster, Director of Product of Android TV.
Hi, Florina.
So tell me, Sasha, what's new with Android TV?
Hey, yeah, we have a bunch of stuff that we're excited to talk specifically with developers at Google I.O. because it is a developer conference after all. So we do a lot of talks and sessions here about how TV app developers can actually integrate really well with Android TV. So as you can see on the screen, if I just scroll around a little bit, we want app developers to get their top content and like really beautiful pictures, all the metadata on screen, but we want to make sure it's not only YouTube or HBO that can do that stuff. We want every app developer can do this, right? So we talk a lot about new ways how you can do this integration really nice, what ways we have to help you with this, and basically want to enable developers to have really the best content on the TV and make the content really shine, because we want to help them to make their apps popular, right? And then obviously it's Google I.O., so we're talking about Android P as well. So we have a bunch of new stuff in Android P for users, but also for developers. So some examples for users are we have a very new like fast setup flow that gets you all your favorite apps already when you set up a device. We have features like autofill, where if you have already logged in on some other device, you already get your login credentials on Android TV, so you don't have to clumsily enter passwords with the remote control. No one likes that, right? But also there are cool new platform APIs in Android P, where, for example, with external camera support, so you could start to develop camera apps on TV as well. Yeah, and that's some of the stuff with Android P where you can use the new Android P Preview SDK. It has a TV emulator, and you can get started with that if you want.
So I know last year you launched the Assistant in the US, but I live in London. Can I finally use it in London also?
A very good question. Actually, the international support for the Google Assistant is on Android TV is rolling out as we speak. So specifically the UK and some other European countries rolls out in the next few weeks. But since you mentioned the Assistant, one really cool thing we announced here at Google I.O. is our new soundbar project that we did with JBL. It's the JBL link bar that you can see here. And we really like the combination of having a TV device powering your TV screen, but with really awesome sound and a far-field microphone built in, so you don't really need this remote control anymore. You can basically just sit on the sofa and control your TV device or any device connected to the soundbar. So you can ask things like, "Hey Google, what's my agenda today?"
Today, there's only one thing on your calendar. It's at 6 p.m. and its title is Pick Up the Dog.
Yeah, I really shouldn't forget that. But it's really nice. You don't have to get up from the couch, look for the remote control anymore. You just talk to your TV in a very natural way. "Hey Google, go home."
Okay, great, so I can continue losing my remote control. Thanks. Okay, but still, I'm an Android developer, so what can I do practically? Is there some code that I can already write?
Yeah, I mean, you could download the Android P Preview SDK with your emulator, but we know developers want to work with real hardware. So one really cool thing we are announcing here at Google I/O is the ADT2 developer device. It's for those of you who have been developing for Android TV for a while, might remember we had an ADT1 developer device in 2014, launched at Google I/O, and after 4 years we thought it's time to do that again. So it's a neat little Android TV dongle you can connect to your TV. You can sign up for this. We have a sign-up form live, and we are selecting, it's a limited edition device, but we make sure a lot of developers are getting one of those. It's a real cool, small Android TV dongle, voice-enabled remote control, so all the things we've been talking about, content integration, assistant integration for your apps, you can try that all out on the device.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Sasha. So we already have a lot of new things for Android TV, both for developers and for end users. So now all we need to do is check out the developer documentation and also sign up for the dongle. Thank you, Sasha.
Thank you.
This is Florina for I/O Live. To make Android development with Kotlin more clear, pleasant, and idiomatic when working with Android framework classes, we created Android Kotlin extensions, a set of extensions to the framework that cover some of the most commonly used classes like View, Shared Preferences, Canvas, Animator, and others. For now, Android KTX is in preview, and the API is likely to change before reaching the stable version. But here's how to integrate it in your projects to check it out, some examples of usage, and how you can contribute. In the build.gradle file of our app, add the Google repository, if it's not there already, and then add the Android KTX library to your dependencies. Let's start with a simple example. Let's say that we want to create a URI from a string. Normally, you would call URI.parse on the string, but with Android KTX, we can just call toURI on the string. When we want to save a value in Share Preferences, our code would look like this. We edit the preferences, put the value, and then call apply. With the extension, we just need to call edit and pass a lambda block with the action. Under the hood, it actually does the same thing as the previous code. Working with classes from the graphics package, we've added extension functions for some of the most important classes there: Canvas, Bitmap, Path, Color, and others. So let's say that we want to draw the difference between two paths offset downward by 100 pixels. First, we get the difference of the paths. Then we translate the canvas, and afterwards we draw the new path. All of this code can now be simplified like this. Okay, let's take another example, this time with a view, and say that we want to execute an action before the view is drawn. The default implementation requires us to add an onPredraw listener, make sure it's removed before the action is triggered, and then trigger the action. With Android KTX, we can just call doOnPredraw on our view and trigger the action. These are just a few of the extensions available so far. Check out the docs to find out what else we have there. If you want to suggest more ideas for extension functions and you'd like to contribute, check out the Android KTX GitHub project. We're still in preview, the API is not stable yet, so your feedback is valuable and can shape the library. This is just the beginning of Android KTX. We're working on extensions for support library and architecture components. Kotlin on Android is here to stay, and we have big plans for it. Follow us on GitHub, YouTube, and Twitter for more news.
Hello and welcome back to I.O. Live. I'm Timothy Jordan, and I'm standing here with Niall and with Shaza, and they built an app using TensorFlow. I'm going to talk about it a little. Niall, could you tell me what the app is and how you came up with the idea?
Sure. So the app is actually a plant classification app. You basically take your camera and hold it over a plant leaf. The app then tells you what type of plant it is. It tells you if it's healthy or if it has a disease and what the disease is. And we actually came up with it one day in lunch. So Shaza had been talking about wanting to create an app, and we were brainstorming some ideas, and I thought about my mom, who has had a huge passion for gardening. About a year ago, we ended up moving, and so she had to transport her garden from a big backyard to a tiny little patio in an apartment. Thus, all of her plants were dying. So we ended up making the app and helping her garden flourish.
Awesome. Now, Shaza, what was it like getting started with machine learning?
Hi, Timothy. I got started with machine learning through a TensorFlow code lab called TensorFlow for Poets, and I learned all about how machine learning works and how to use convolutional neural networks on your own data set using the TensorFlow API.
Did you find that challenging?
It was very challenging. It took me a long time to learn because it was my very first programming experience, but it ended up being a really amazing project.
Awesome. Now, what's next? Do you have any ideas for new apps?
Yeah, so I definitely want to do something that has to do with women in third world countries. I have a really close friend who's actually a national leader in the organization Girl Up, and so their topic is just dealing with women in third world countries. So we're definitely working together right now on something to benefit that.
Awesome. Okay, one last question. Do you have any advice for somebody out there who's looking to get started in machine learning or even just computer science?
To someone who's looking to get started in computer science, I would tell them that it's a lot easier than you think, and there are a ton of resources out there if you want to learn about machine learning or artificial intelligence.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you for joining us. This is I.O. Live.
Hi and welcome to I.O. Live. I'm Florina Montanescu, your host, and I'm here today with Sasha Preuster, Director of Product of Android TV.
Hi, Florina.
So tell me, Sasha, what's new with Android TV?
Hey, yeah, we have a bunch of stuff that we're excited to talk specifically with developers at Google I.O. because it is a developer conference after all. So we do a lot of talks and sessions here about how TV app developers can actually integrate really well with Android TV. So as you can see on the screen, if I just scroll around a little bit, we want app developers to get their top content and like really beautiful pictures, all the metadata on screen, but we want to make sure it's not only YouTube or HBO that can do that stuff. We want every app developer can do this, right? So we talk a lot about new ways how you can do this integration really nice, what ways we have to help you with this, and basically want to enable developers to have really the best content on the TV and make the content really shine, because we want to help them to make the apps popular, right? And then obviously it's Google I.O., so we're talking about Android P as well. So we have a bunch of new stuff in Android P for users, but also for developers. So some examples for users are we have a very new like fast setup flow that gets you all your favorite apps already when you set up a device. We have features like autofill, where if you have already logged in on some other device, you already get your login credentials on Android TV, so you don't have to clumsily enter passwords with the remote control. No one likes that, right? But also there are cool new platform APIs in Android P, where, for example, with external camera support, so you could start to develop camera apps on TV as well. Yeah, and that's some of the stuff with Android P where you can use the new Android P Preview SDK. It has a TV emulator, and you can get started with that if you want.
So I know last year you launched the Assistant in the US, but I live in London. Can I finally use it in London also?
A very good question. Actually, the international support for the Google Assistant is on Android TV is rolling out as we speak. So specifically the UK and some other European countries rolls out in the next few weeks. But since you mentioned the Assistant, one really cool thing we announced here at Google I.O. is our new soundbar project that we did with JBL. It's the JBL link bar that you can see here. And we really like the combination of having a TV device powering your TV screen, but with really awesome sound and a far-field microphone built in, so you don't really need this remote control anymore. You can basically just sit on the sofa and control your TV device or any device connected to the soundbar. So you can ask things like, "Hey Google, what's my agenda today?"
Today, there's only one thing on your calendar. It's at 6 p.m. and its title is Pick Up the Dog.
Yeah, I really shouldn't forget that. But it's really nice. You don't have to get up from the couch, look for the remote control anymore. You just talk to your TV in a very natural way. "Hey Google, go home."
Okay, great. So I can continue losing my remote control. Thanks. Okay, but still, I'm an Android developer. So what can I do practically? Is there some code that I can already write?
Yeah, I mean, you could download the Android P Preview SDK with your emulator, but we know developers want to work with real hardware. So one really cool thing we are announcing here at Google I/O is the ADT2 developer device. It's for those of you who have been developing for Android TV for a while, might remember we had an ADT1 developer device in 2014, launched at Google I/O, and after 4 years we thought it's time to do that again. So it's a neat little Android TV dongle you can connect to your TV. You can sign up for this. We have a sign-up form live, and we are selecting, it's a limited edition device, but we make sure a lot of developers are getting one of those. It's a real cool, small Android TV dongle, voice-enabled remote control, so all the things we've been talking about, content integration, assistant integration for your apps, you can try that all out on the device.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Sasha. So we already have a lot of new things for Android TV, both for developers and for end users. So now all we need to do is check out the developer documentation and also sign up for the dongle. Thank you, Sasha.
Thank you.
This is Florina for I/O Live. To make Android development with Kotlin more clear, pleasant, and idiomatic when working with Android framework classes, we created Android Kotlin extensions, a set of extensions to the framework that cover some of the most commonly used classes like View, Shared Preferences, Canvas, Animator, and others. For now, Android KTX is in preview, and